You've heard the name Nostradamus, right? The most famous prophet of his time, whose cryptic verses still fascinate us centuries later. But among all his vague predictions, one stands out for being chillingly specific: his prophecy for the end of the world. So what is the state? Let's dive in. Yeah, most of his stuff, you can kind of read anything you want into it. But the source material we're digging into today highlights that his prophecies all lead up to one final definitive date. A date that has been interpreted as the absolute end of the line for humanity. And there it is, 3797. Not 3,000, not 4,000. It's this very specific, almost technical-looking number for the apocalypse, which of course makes you wonder, why that year? According to our source, most of the typical explanations just don't hold up. It suggests the answer isn't some mystical vision, but something far more deliberate, something hidden in the code of the number itself and in the work of a man who lived at the very same time. Okay, so for a minute, let's stop thinking of this as a prophecy and start treating it like a puzzle. What is so special about the number 3797? Well, when you start pulling this number apart, things get weirdly specific. The source points out a few properties that seem way too perfect to be a coincidence. For starters, it's the 529th prime number. You've got the number 79 sitting right there in the middle. And get this, the last three digits, 397, well, that just happens to be the 79th prime number. I mean, come on. This feels less like a random vision and more like a carefully engineered number. But engineered by who and why? To find the answer, we actually have to shift our focus. We need to look away from the man who claimed to see the future and turn our attention to another brilliant mind from that same era, a man who was obsessed with something totally different, creating a single, universal timeline for all of human history. And this brings us to our second key figure, Joseph Justus Scaliger. He wasn't a prophet, not at all. He was a scholar, and he's basically considered the founder of scientific chronology. His entire life's work was about bringing order to the complete chaos of historical dates. So you have these two incredible minds living at roughly the same time. You got Nostradamus, looking forward, trying to predict what's going to happen, and then you have Scaliger, looking backward, trying to standardize everything that has happened. On the surface, their work seems totally unrelated, but the source we're looking at suggests their work is deeply and maybe secretly connected through one powerful invention. And that invention is the Julian date. It's a system still used in astronomy today, which is amazing. Scaliger's brilliant idea was to create a continuous count of days from one single, ancient starting point, January 1st, 4713 BCE. That way, any historical event could be precisely placed on the timeline without all the confusion of different calendars. But the real magic is in the cycle he used to build this whole system. Let's pop the hood and look at the engine behind his entire model of history. It's this massive time cycle he called the Julian period. So how did he come up with this huge cycle? He took three different well-known cycles from antiquity: the 15-year Roman tax cycle, the 19-year lunar cycle for tracking moon phases, and the 28-year solar cycle for the calendar. He multiplied them all together, 15 times 19 times 28, and what did he get? 7,980 years. This became his grand Julian period, a master cycle designed to contain all of history. But hold on, that's not the only way to get to that number. The source we're examining points out another, lesser-known calculation that also produces the exact same result. This suggests that the number 7980 was deeply embedded in the thinking of the time. For instance, if you take the lengths of the two ancient Easter cycles, the Roman one at 84 years and the Alexandrian one at 95 years, and multiply them, you also get exactly 7,980. So this number isn't arbitrary at all. It's like a cornerstone of historical and religious calculation. Now, what happens when we apply this cornerstone to history? And this right here is the moment where our two separate stories, the prophet and the chronologer, finally slam into each other. Okay, let's map this out. Scaliger starts his calendar in the year 4713 BCE. If we add one full Julian period of 7,980 years to that starting point, where do we end up? We land in the year 3268. Now, look at Nostradamus' doomsday prediction, 3797. They are incredibly close. But close isn't good enough, right? This is where the theory gets really wild. The gap between the end of Scaliger's first grand cycle and Nostradamus's end of the world is not a random number. In fact, it's a number we have already seen. The gap is exactly 529 years. And what did we learn about the year 3797 at the very beginning of this? It's the 529th prime number. So the end of the world is exactly one prime number cycle after the end of the first great historical cycle. The pieces fit together perfectly. Our source puts it plainly. The entire chronology construction is interlocked. This wasn't a coincidence. It suggests that Nostradamus's prophecy and Scaliger's chronology might be two sides of the same coin, a single massive mathematical construction designed to define the beginning, the middle, and the very end of time. So what does this all mean? If a famous prophecy isn't a vision, but a calculation that fits perfectly into a supposedly objective, scientific timeline, it forces us to ask a really profound question. And that's the final takeaway. Are we looking at history as it actually happened? Or are we looking at a beautiful, intricate mathematical model that was built in the 16th century and that we've been living inside ever since? The connection between Nostradamus and Scaliger suggests that the line between prophecy and programming might be way thinner than we think.